Welcome everyone to Things Around 8. Dear friends, in this video we will talk about the pact that former President and candidate Donald Trump allegedly wants to sign with Vladimir Putin. A pact that, according to him, will put an immediate end to the war. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bells so you don't miss any news. Since the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, in February 2022, former President Donald Trump has stated on several occasions that if he were the President of the United States, that war would not have even started. With Trump now stating that with no end in sight to the war, he, if re-elected, will be able to put an end to the conflict in just 24 hours. Despite his frequent statements, Trump has never given details about his plan to immediately end the war. But this Tuesday, July 2nd, the political website, citing anonymous sources linked to Trump's political and security team, finally gave the details of Trump's so-called master plan. According to the website, the plan would involve a pact with Putin, involving a few main points, the first being a sharp reduction in the financial and military aid provided by Washington to Kyiv. On Tuesday, July 2nd, the Pentagon announced a new package of $2.3 billion in weapons and ammunition for Ukraine, with this package joining countless others that, since the beginning of the Russian invasion, total nearly $50 billion in direct military aid, not counting the financial and humanitarian aid sent by the United States. According to what this source told the political website, through a drastic reduction in the amount of this aid, Ukraine would be forced to negotiate with the invader and give in to the Kremlin's pressure and demands. According to Vladimir Putin himself, the only way the invasion can end is if Zelensky agrees to lose the entire regions of Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, not just the areas that are currently under occupation, but the entirety of those regions. Putin also demands the complete demilitarization of Ukraine, which includes the dismantling of its armed forces and the handover to Russia of Western weapons and ammunition still in Ukrainian hands. According to the political website, Trump would be willing to force Ukraine to accept Putin's demands, with the sources cited in the report saying that, in addition, Trump would be willing to distance himself from NATO and block any new Eastern European members, especially Ukraine, Georgia and Moldova. Thanks to recent changes in the law, the President of the United States does not have the power to unilaterally order the country's exit from NATO. However, the President can distance himself from the alliance by refusing to participate in joint military exercises and withdrawing military forces from member countries in Europe, especially those closest to Russia, such as Poland, Finland and the Baltic countries. By taking this measure, Trump would give Putin everything he wants, not only in Ukraine, but also in Eastern Europe and even in NATO, which is weakened and has no real capacity to pressure Russia. This plan by Trump, which is important to emphasize once again, was never officially disclosed by him himself, but rather by a report on a website citing sources linked to his political team, would obviously have the potential to put a quick end to the war, giving Putin victory in his war of expansion and conquest, in addition to also leaving a clear path for him to continue his advance through Georgia, under Russian military occupation since 2008, and also Moldova, whose Transnistria region is also under Russian military occupation. Ukraine turned into a kind of Russian protectorate, with southern Ukraine formally annexed by Putin, and with Georgia and Moldova isolated and unable to seek help from the alliance. According to this report, Trump would try to obtain from Putin, in exchange for all this, more support for the United States in the Pacific, which would, in practice, mean distancing Russian support from Chinese claims in the region, especially Chinese claims over the South China Sea and the island of Taiwan. According to analysts, this would be a very risky gamble for Trump, since it would involve trying to distance Putin from his greatest ally, both militarily and commercially. However, since this plan by Trump would give Ukraine no alternative but to surrender, the war would come to an end and Putin would no longer be obliged to maintain such a strong and close association with Xi Jinping. This report by Politico reinforces a previous one, published in April by the Washington Post, which also, citing sources close to former President Trump, stated that part of his plan to quickly end the war involves forcing Ukraine to cede occupied territories to Russia. Publicly, however, Trump has taken a very different approach, having said during the debate with President Biden that he rejects Putin's demands regarding Ukrainian territories. However, Trump simply limited himself to saying, once again, that he will be able to end the war quickly, but without giving any details about how he would achieve this. These reports, such as those by Politico and the Washington Post, reinforce the thesis of many analysts, who say that Trump's strategy regarding Ukraine will indeed involve a kind of secret pact with Putin, aiming to buy the Russian leader's withdrawal from China. And in exchange, the United States would give Russia the territories it so badly wants to annex in Ukraine, in addition to a weakened NATO due to the United States withdrawal. If this really does match Trump's strategy, Ukraine will have a lot to lose if he is re-elected. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates.